Now learn the bass catching secrets of the Bassmaster Tournament Trail Pros. Coming next on the Bassmasters, right here on TNN Outdoors.
Today, the Bassmaster Tournament Trail stops at Sam Rayburn Reservoir in East Texas. Big Sam may be the best bet for bassing anywhere in the country. For sure, this will be a great spring fling on Rayburn, as Bassmaster field reporter Tim Miller explains.
Bob, Sam Rayburn has always been one of the top stops on the Bassmaster Tournament Trail. A lot of big fish have come out of here over the years. But Sam Rayburn was especially hard hit in the drought of 1996. The lake dropped up to 15 feet at one point. Now, do you see all this field grass and this just cover that's growing up off the shoreline? Normally, in the spring in Sam Rayburn, this wouldn't be here. But because the lake was down so far for most of last year, this was able to grow up. This was all on dry ground. Now the lake's almost back to full level. And this grass is flooded all over the lake, and it's provided a whole new habitat for the bass. This is one of the areas you're going to see most of these anglers concentrating this week. Here's Oklahoma pro and fisheries biologist Ken Cook.
Well, it is spring, and it is Rayburn, and a lot of things are happening right now. The water's warming, it's coming up. We've had all this rain. It's muddying up some places, but it's really warming, and that's really key this time of year, is that the temperature is really increasing. It's gone from about 53 to 55. Now it's 60 to 65 in places. So the fish are moving up. We've got a full moon coming on. Everything is pushing the fish shallow, and I had found a lot of fish in the guts where the hydrilla ends about 8 to 10 feet in the back end of these draws, where the coals are coming to catch them on Carolina rig power lizard back out there in 8 to 10 feet of water, where there's a little bit of clean bottom, where the green grass and the brown grass kind of joins.
The weatherman's going to be on center stage this week. A major cold front's expected through the first day of the tournament, but then after that, a clearing sky. And so the fishermen will be facing post-front conditions for the last 2 days of the tournament. But Rayburn has the bass, and Bob, we're expecting a tournament and a show with a lot of great fish-catching action.
Thanks, Tim. For sure, this is going to be a jam-packed lesson in how the Bassmaster Tournament Trail Pros work a pre-spawn pattern. Today, you'll learn a blueprint for following the spring bass migration, the best lure selections and presentations, and how to beat a cold front when the bite tapers off. I'm Bob Cobb. The Bassmasters will be right back with the 1997 Texas Invitational from Big Sam Rayburn Reservoir.
Day 1. The Bassmaster Texas Invitational. Check out for 324 pros competing for $196,000 in this BASS Central Division tournament. There's $35,000 for the best 3-day catch. The daily limit is 5 bass 14 inches or larger. This morning, the pros are keeping an eye on the weather. Heavy rain and wind gusts over 30 miles per hour are expected. Wind on Rayburn can be a sure enough killer. Veteran pro Lonnie Stanley of Huntington, Texas knows his backyard lake. With 25 years of experience, he looked for sheltered spots in practice. This first tournament morning, Lonnie's fishing a creek on the western side of Big Sam, an area behind the Black Forest where huge strings of bass have been boated in Rayburn's past. The time is late February, the period of early spring bass movements. With rising water temperatures, bass move shallow.
These fish are migrating up these creeks, following that inside hydrilla lines in about 10, 12, 13 foot. And it kind of like makes a donut all the way around. What we're fishing is off the sage grass and the sinew beans. It drops off when the lake was low, it all growed up. And you got a ridge of sand. Just a little, like a highway all the way around the lake, and it just makes it in and out and in and out. Where we've been catching these fish here, it makes a little cut in here, and it makes a little cut in right there. And those fish are on the inside moss line of the hydrilla line and also the sage grass line. They're just going down through there and catch them on a spinnerbait or catch them on a Carolina rig. During practice, I took a little 3/8 platinum wedge spinnerbait and downsides the blades from a 4.5 down to a 4. 2 gold blades and a little gold-looking skirt. It looks just like a little brim, about 2-3 inches long, pre-spawn, you know, cold water brim. It's just a gold-colored little spinnerbait with 2 gold blades. And that's what we've been catching most of them on the last 2 or 3 days. But downsides of that blade, that old sage grass, we're fishing anywhere from 3 to 8 foot of water in old sage grass. As you can sit out on the bank, it's 2-3 foot high. what we want to do is try and just tick the top of it. So every once in a while we'll catch one by stopping and going it. When you hit something, just kind of stop it and let it go down.
Downsizing blades, why do it? Sometimes to match the size of the bait fish, but Lonnie Stanley wants to keep the bait down. Larger blades cause the bait to run higher.
I think the downsize of the blade make a heck of a lot of difference. That smaller blade like that, there's a couple of reasons I was doing that, to keep the 3/8 down. I wanted it to come down. And the other thing, that old grass is real hard to fish through. By downsizing that little bitty willow leaf, it wouldn't catch that grass. It'd come through it a lot better. I want to slow roll it, and I want it to have speed. By taking a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce either one and downsizing that blades to a smaller size, you can see how fast I'm going. I'm actually moving that bait. I'm covering a lot of water, but the bait's staying 2 to 4 foot down. With them bigger blades, it ride like 2 to 3 instead of 3 and 4.
Ahead of the front, the bite is predictable. Bass are aggressive, feeding, striking spinner baits, soft plastic jerk baits, and Texas rigged worms fished in the newly flooded grass. But with the front's arrival, strong winds, and at the day one weigh-in, Bill Cannon has a frightful story to tell.
I tell you what, we had a rough time coming in. Look back, the cowling was loose, gas and oil rolling out of the motor, and we had a Stratus behind us that slowed down, and we were fortunate enough to ride in with them. My boat's up the lake somewhere, up on a sandbar probably, with all my tackle in it. I got bruises all over my ankles and knees, and I'm gonna be paying for that ride back tonight and tomorrow.
I bet you. However, Bill's bruises may not ache so much. The 25-year-old Lake Livingston guide takes the lead with 19 pounds 5 ounces. But he's only ounces ahead of Texan Stan Grzeny with 19 pounds 2 ounces. Following closely on the Jersey's activewear leaderboard, Indiana's Kurt Hughes in 3rd place. Coming next, you'll learn how the pros adjust in a post-cold front situation, and how Bill Cannon makes do with borrowed tackle. Round 2, the Bassmaster Texas Invitation. And somewhere on sprawling Sam Rayburn Reservoir, there's a missing boat. Tournament leader Bill Cannon is trying his luck in a borrowed boat with loaner tackle.
I've got 3 rods and 3 spinner baits and a bag of worms.
As if he needs any more pressure, Bill Cannon and Lonnie Stanley happened on the same concentration of fish. This morning, they're eyeball to eyeball, rod to rod. There's a 300-yard stretch of shoreline that Bill Cannon and Lonnie Stanley are fishing. Lonnie's got deeper water nearby, and it may be a factor with these cold front conditions.
And today I'm catching them on what I call my search and rescue bait, a little 5-inch zoom June bug lizard, just backed off the old weed line, between the weed line and the hydrilla line, and just barely moving this thing along real slow. And they're real inactive. There's some real quality fish. And some little ones too, it looks like. Right now, we just want 14 inchers. If a 6-pounder comes by, we'll catch him too.
I wasn't getting bit very well Monday and Tuesday morning out on the main lake. There he is. Hang on there, fish. Okay, you might want to help me with this one. He's hooked right on the outside of the mouth on the left side. Grab him. Good job, bro. So, the water temperature was so warm. Well, no, I say so warm. The water temperature got to like upper 50s. And according to some of the stuff I've read by Larry Nixon and some of the videotapes I've seen on Larry Nixon, the fish ought to be here.
But with water temperatures cooler this morning, Lonnie reasons the bass may be deeper, and so far, his strategy is working.
And here's another guy you better keep your eye on this second day, Oklahoma pro Ken Cook. Ken caught about 18.5 pounds of bass out of this little cove yesterday. He's fishing a channel, or a chute if you will, that's between two types of grass, and it's all formed from that big drawdown we were telling you about earlier.
With the rising water and the rising water temperature has caused these fish to pull into these coves, and they're going to be associated with one or more of these edges. That's the deal. You just got to decide today, like since they aren't way in the back where they were yesterday, we've got to figure out whether they're on the terrestrial grass edge, or the hydrilla edge shallow side, or the hydrilla edge deep side, where they've moved out to since the muddy water and the bad water qualities come in the back. They've obviously changed.
Well, just when you think you've seen everything in fishing tackle, somebody comes up with something new. Bet you've never seen a Carolina rig like this before.
What this is a two-hook Carolina rig, basically, with and it came about as my frustration for having fish bite the sinker. I use a rattling brass sinker a lot of times. This is a Thunderbolt which rattles, and so you attract fish to this area. And I was frustrated by fish biting the sinker, so I through a series of a process of elimination, developed this system with a three-way swivel, and on this very, very short dropper on the side, as short as you can tie, it's about 1.5 inches, about a 30-pound test monofilament leader. Stiff monofilament, like Berkeley Big Game, and then a hook, which has a shank. It's important to have a hook that'll hold your worm up so that it doesn't slide down. And in addition to that, I'll use fishing glue to glue it in there, and it'll stay then until the fish eats it off. So it won't pull down when you get like in the grass. So now you have a hook that's very close to the rattling sinker, and then your normal Carolina rig behind it.
Change is the name of the game. Kurt Hughes has to adjust to muddy water from runoff spoiling his area in Caney Creek. His spinnerbait bite is off, but a jig and chunk pays off. Lonnie Stanley's pinpointed a specific area along Boggy Creek that's holding fish, but it's slow fishing to get bites on a Carolina-rigged lizard.
You can't work it fast, you gotta work it real slow. It's some clay humps. If you look over on the bank, you see that red clay that's out on the bank? That's a line that runs out through here. I came over here when the lake was down 12 foot and saw that red clay coming in here with this hydrilla line running inside of it. And I don't know, I guess it's because the crawfish or the perch hole around that little bit of clay that's running on the inside lines where we're catching all these fish at. Bites are slow though.
Yesterday, 204 anglers scored 5 bass limits, but today the success ratio drops to 93. Lake Fork, Texas guide Stan Gerzini takes the lead with a 17-pound, 13-ounce catch anchored with his 6-pound largemouth. But here's local favorite Lonnie Stanley.
The biggest stringer so far, 21 pounds, 8 ounces, 21.8. Congratulations, Lonnie.
That puts Lonnie Stanley solidly on top the Jersey's activewear leaderboard with 40 pounds, 3 ounces. Stan Gerzini is over 3 pounds back, followed by Bill Cannon with 34 pounds, 15 ounces. We'll find out the winning strategy for the Texas Invitational's final round in a moment. But right now, it's time for Bass Mail, where you send in questions for the pros. Kyle Ken of Payson, Arizona asks Jay Yellis, how do you get your pork off a jig or spinnerbait?
Hey Kyle, thanks for writing in. This is how I get pork off of my jigs. The first thing I do is I take my jig and I turn it upside down. And then I'll take and slide the barb of the hook up against the pork chunk, and then I'll turn the hook 180 degrees and it pops right out. There's nothing to it, and it's a lot easier than you might think.
Send your Bassin questions to Bass Mail, P.O. Box 140430, Dallas, Texas 75214. We may read yours on the air. With post-cold front conditions, Texas Invitational leader Lonnie Stanley is sticking with a Carolina-rigged lizard in deeper water.
You just have to get out here with them in this 8 to 12 foot of water inside hydrilla land, and boy, I really finesse them with a little lizard or some kind of small bait while they inactive. Thank you. Number 1.
Okay, Bassmasters, Lonnie's explained downsizing a spinnerbait for cold front conditions. The same rule applies for his Carolina rig.
I'm just downsizing for little. And I think another key deal too is these this Mojo worm weight with the 3 beads. Just a little black one in the middle is actually a rattling bead. It rattles, and I got the 2 glass beads that click together with a rattler. I'm almost dragging it. I'm just dragging it when it hits something. I'll just shake it real slow and make a lot of noise. And I went to a 12-pound test leader, about 3.5 to 4 foot long, and a little bitty 2-aught hook. And I think a little 2-aught hook lets that little bitty lizard float around. They can't see it as well.
Weather has altered Stan Gerzini's pattern this morning, as Bassmasters reporter Tim Miller explains.
He's fishing a spinnerbait out in the middle of this cove. Now, the first 2 days of the tournament, he was throwing a sluggo back here. But today, because fishing is getting tougher, you've got a clear sky, he's moved out, trying to concentrate on those fish that are in the middle of this channel, getting ready to move up in the shallow water to spawn.
The top 3 tournament leaders are all fishing the Black Forest area. Stan's working the flats just outside the Creek Cove, where Bill Cannon and Lonnie Stanley are less than 150 yards apart.
The hydrilla comes into play at around 8 or 9 feet. Where I'm fishing, the deepest water I've got is about 6.5. So I don't have any hydrilla, and with the weather we've had, the little cold front that we had last night, I think that the fish might be on that hydrilla, and if they are, he's right on top of them. And it seemed like he's catching bigger fish than I am, so I assume that there's a lot of big fish right there waiting to come to the area that I'm at. And I'm catching them as fast as they'll get here, but they're not getting here fast enough right now, so we'll see what happens.
Bill Cannon's right about where bigger bass are holding, but it's Lonnie's partner, Greg Kitchen of Louisiana, who connects this time. Greg's going to make a big leap in the standings. He started today in 20th place.
All righty. What are we looking for, partner?
Stan Gerzini has changed areas now. He's moved up to a small pocket up the lake a little ways, but he was hoping that this pocket would have clearer water in it so he could throw his sluggo. Stan has a good fish on. Stan's just hooked this bass off the side of a weed line in the back end of this small pocket. He's fighting him around the front now. This is a good bass. Stan needs this fish. This could be a good kicker fish for Stan. Oh, there's a good fish on the sluggo for Stan Gerzini. This is still a tight race between Lonnie Stanley and Stan Gerzini.
I guess. I don't know. He's a keeper. He's a keeper. I got him, man.
Lonnie, just keepers won't get it done. Stan Gerzini's catching bass and catching up fast. Stan's voted a limit and can cull with that bass. Lonnie's managed only 3 keepers today. He's in trouble unless he can get this bass in the boat.
Don't lose him, Lonnie. Get down, get down. Get down, get down. Fish, come here. You're so bad. Don't miss him. I ain't got him. Very good. Long cast. Got it. Yes. Whew. Oh, look out. Look. The hook fell out.
What a clutch catch for Lonnie Stanley.
Lord.
But Stan Gerzini is not the only challenger.
Let's watch the weight for Bill Cannon from Texas. Bill's weight, 15 pounds, 10 ounces, 15-10. Let's get those, Bill, let's get a couple of shots. I tell you, the way fishing is today, we've heard it's been awful slow out on the water. You might have won yourself a Bassmaster Tournament.
Bill Cannon's 50 pounds, 9 ounces takes over the lead. Stan Gerzini needs 13 pounds, 11 ounces to topple Bill's creel.
Have you got it?
I don't believe so. Not quite.
All right, let's see. Let's check it out. He needs 13-11. He's got, oh, it's backwards, 11-13. Stan, 11-13.
Now, Bill Cannon, hoping to win his first Bassmaster Invitational, has only one hurdle in the road.
10 pounds, 7 ounces to win this tournament. Slowly, in front of your son, God, and everybody in Texas. 10 pounds. 10-15. 10 pounds, 15 ounces.
10 years ago this week, Lonnie Stanley won his only Bassmaster Tournament, the BASS Megabucks in Florida. Now he's hit a big payday again, $35,000, the Texas Invitational Champion, with 51 pounds, 2 ounces. Bill Cannon, the runner-up, pockets $22,000. Stan Grzini earns $20,000 for third place. Right now, it's time for the Pros Pointer, the tournament champion's winning tip. Brought to you by Wrangler Rugged Wear, geared for the outdoors.
The one little helpful hint I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years is the knot that I tie on my jig and my spinnerbait, both the same knots. What I do is tie the old improved clinch knot, but here's what I do. I go around it one time, and then I go around it the extra time on the RVN spinnerbait. You don't want that line sliding up and down. What happens is you make a little bitty loop, and then you do your 3 to 4 twists around, run it back through. Once you run it through there, you run it through there. That's just the old improved clinch knot that your dad taught you. Pull it down real good and tight. And what happens is that double loop around that arm will keep it from moving up or down the head of the spinnerbait.
Next week, the Bassmaster Tournament Trail heads to Lake Neely Henry for the Alabama Top 100. Join us for another lesson in seasonal patterns for catching largemouth bass. We'll show you how Super Pro Davey Height figures out a post-spawn strategy when bassing gets tough. For the Bassmasters, I'm Bob Cobb. See you all right here next week on TNN Outdoors.